Hello everyone, my name is Diego Alfonso and I'm your host with the Florida Aviation Network. We're broadcasting live and in the clear from the Florida Air Museum at the Sun and Fun Complex in Lakeland, Florida. Today we're celebrating 40 years of the Sun and Fun Fly-In and Exposition. Today our guests are from the Florida Wing Civil Air Patrol, Luis Garcia. Luis?
Diego, a pleasure.
Welcome to the program. And Phil Zedonick.
Very good.
Did I get that right?
Perfect.
See, him, I'd have no problem.
I didn't think you
You
would.
probably noticed that. That
Nope.
came out perfect.
You did very well.
Now, Zedonick, that's another story.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it came out okay. Luis, Luis is the vice commander for the Florida Wing of the Civil Air Patrol, and Phil is the former vice commander and the Government Relations Advisory.
That's correct.
Advisor. Okay, so we got that straight. Now everybody knows who you are. Before we get into the meat of things, and I know you have a few things that you want to talk about, why don't you just let us know about your aviation background? Where did that start, and what says Louis? Yeah, I want to be a pilot.
Well, it started about 35 years ago, Diego. I remember as a young man, I was about 7, 8 years old. I'm looking through an aviation magazine. My parents would take me to the library, and I always seemed to gravitate to aviation magazines. So I remember picking up a flying magazine, reading an article on the Air Force. They had an F-15 fighter on the picture, and I said, Mom, Dad, I want to learn to fly one day. So my parents always nurtured that. So for my 8th birthday, my birthday present was a ride in a Bell 47. So that was my first small aircraft, and it just leapt from there. Learned to fly out of Tamiami Airport in the early 90s, so I pursued a degree in aviation with hopes in the professional community, and progressed through, got my commercial ratings, and during that same time frame I got involved in the Civil Air Patrol. And as somebody told me, says, hey, here's a chance to take your license and apply it in a professional setting. So I got involved in the search and rescue flying with Civil Air Patrol and also with some other organizations in South Florida. And through it, I progressed to become a flight instructor, instrument flight instructor. And I used those skills within CAP throughout the couple years working with the FAA, working with other partners, overseeing our standardization evaluation program, basically being the senior examiner for CAP in Florida at one point. And it's been a love affair ever since. So it's something that got in my blood early on, and I've continued through it.
Once the bug hits, it doesn't let go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there to stay. I don't care what happens, you always gravitate back to that.
Yes.
Phil, I'm going to pose the same question to you. Go ahead, let us know your aviation background, what kind of led you to get in an airplane.
I had the opportunity as a young 13-year-old to actually join Civil Air Patrol back in the 60s, and was a cadet for 4 years. And while I was a cadet, I had an opportunity to win a flying scholarship. And so Civil Air Patrol paid for my private pilot's license. And so I soloed when I was 16, got my license when I was 17, and again, out of Tamiami, the old Tamiami Airport.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly where that is.
I was down in the old, in the South Florida area, in Cutler Ridge area.
Actually, that's North Cuba.
So I grew up down there, and so I flew basically until I graduated from college, and then went on active duty with the military, and but didn't fly in the military. And so I took about a 40-year break from flying and Civil Air Patrol. And just back in November 2007, said I wanted to get back into a great organization that did so much for me as a young adult, and wanted to give back something. So I rejoined Civil Air Patrol, got my currency back again, kept on flying, and now I actually own an airplane. I keep here at Bartow Airport.
Good.
And continue flying with Civil Air Patrol, and I'm actually starting working, finally after all these years, working on my instrument rating this year.
Very good. I remember that. I remember when I was going for, you know why pilots get instrument ratings?
Why is that?
They can't find airports VFR. Okay, Louis, here is the thing. I know you guys had a whole bunch of stuff in the works. Mm-hmm. Why don't you go ahead? I see in my notes here you have 3 missions.
Yes.
Go ahead and let me know what that is about.
Well, CAP is a very diverse organization. For example, in Florida, we're made up of 4,000 members. Both about 2,000 cadets are kids that are below the age of 21, and our senior members are 2,000. Those members support these 3 distinct missions. First and foremost is our emergency services mission, what a lot of people are very familiar with, which encompasses our search and rescue, where we will respond to a missing an ELT going off through the Air Force Rescue Coordination Center. Secondly, we'll do missions such as disaster relief. For example, here to our local community, CAP will respond with aerial photography to help out with disaster assessment. We'll move equipment, supplies, and again, working within that construct. Some other missions that we do is Homeland Security. We'll help out train the Air Force in some of their intercept missions and other things that we do. But within the emergency services, it's a very robust, very well known. That's where you see most of our aircraft involved in. Going into that is our cadet programs, which is our key future leaders, not only within Civil Air Patrol, but out to the community, where we train our cadets from ages 12 to 21. They go through a very structured program, being able to progress, get an opportunity to fly with us, get an opportunity to participate in emergency services missions, and it gives them a great opportunity. In fact, some of the cadets may go on to apply for the service academies or have a career in military, have a career in aviation, but no way does it encumber them to serving in the military. It's just a great way for to get our youth involved in community service and doing great things and giving back. And then lastly, our aerospace education, where we have an internal and external, where we look to work with teachers externally to promote aerospace education. Like, for example, today part of our interview is part of our aerospace mission, kind of bringing awareness of what we do and working with the community. Internally, we work with our cadets to do model rocketry. We've worked here with Sun and Fun a number of times to bring our cadets out. We've held encampments. So the combination of the three missions, if you look at our logo and the patches on our uniform, we have three propellers representing each one of our three missions. So our members are very diverse and support across those three spectrums.
Okay. Phil, in my notes here, I got a statement that talks about Sun and Fun support. Would you please
Absolutely.
give us a little bit of
That's really what got me back in the Civil Air Patrol again, because I live here in Lakeland, and someone asked me if I'd want to get involved with Sun and Fun and help out, and maybe get involved with Civil Air Patrol, and that's what drew me in, and I became the liaison coordinator for Civil Air Patrol and Sun and Fun about 7 years ago. And since then, it's just been a yearly thing, and truly love it. Every year we bring out our cadets. We support a lot of different activities on here. This year we're supporting the Warbird ramp and helping them out there. Sky Soldiers with the helicopter rides. We assist over the FAA building and just provide information. We also have a large display, a static display that we have this year with our drug demand reduction program, with a flight simulator and everything else. And again, to help educate our youth about the hazards of getting involved in drugs and how that's going to impact on a future career in aviation.
We got to get them when they're young.
If you go that route. So we don't want to, we want to be, it's very preventive. And so we've got a great, we also have a great display with all our aerospace education material and information about the whole program available. And we're located right across from Sun and Fun Radio. And we have a nice site right there here on the Sun and Fun. We'll be here all week and be here through Sunday. And we've had hundreds of visitors already stop by, pick up information, pick up brochures, have a chance to talk to some of our cadets about the program, and see exactly what we have to offer. So the Sun and Fun support has just been a paramount. It's a great way to get our message out.
Of course. And I know you always been, Civil Air Patrol always been supporting Sun and Fun way back. And now I heard something else that talks about reorganization. What's going on?
Well, recently, Diego, the Florida wing, which for our viewers out there, the wing compromises the entire state. We just had a new commander. Colonel Henry Arizari was appointed as the new wing commander as of 2 weeks ago. I have the opportunity to work as the second in command for the wing as the vice commander. Me and Phil both had the opportunity to trade slots. So I've learned from my mentor, and now I have an opportunity to follow in his shoes. So Colonel Arizari is looking to continue the great things that we've done in the organization and make sure that we focus at the community level, at our squadron, our group, and re-emphasize our mission. Because a lot of communities don't understand what we do or don't have an awareness that, hey, here's a program in your backyard that we can take youth, give them opportunities of education, exposure to aerospace, and other activities that can give them an opportunity to grow and maybe go into a career field that they may like. We're having, for example, a big special emphasis on STEM, part of our aerospace education mission. Again, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, that's been a big push within our organization. So Colonel Rosario, under his leadership, those are some of the initiatives that we're pushing.
One thing I want to mention is Florida Wing is basically the largest wing in the nation, not area-wise, but certainly the largest when you deal with numbers. We have basically 85 units or squadrons spread from Key West to Pensacola. Yeah. So we're throughout the entire state. We have 27 aircraft, several gliders, 35 vehicles. So we're a large organization. And as my job as vice commander was to do that, was to spend most of my time on the road or flying around the state, going to different functions and supporting various activities, which we have literally throughout the whole state. Okay. So we're, if you're in Florida somewhere, there's a Civil Air Patrol squadron close by, I can guarantee you.
Of course. You know, there is something that I want to touch on, because, you know, I was in this country for a long time. I knew about the Civil Air Patrol, but I never knew the role that the Civil Air Patrol played and or could play if there is really a real emergency like war. And could you, this is, it's like a history lesson, but I think there's a lot, there's a lot of even pilots out there that really don't know the role of the Civil Air Patrol during, for instance, World War II.
Yes.
So can you give us a little bit of that?
Yeah, and one of the things, Civil Air Patrol, through its foundations to Fiorello LaGuardia, when he was mayor of New York, founded the Civil Defense Corps with pilots. CAP evolved in that through December 7th, 1941, and we were involved in a lot of missions to the support of the homeland. For example, CAP is very famous for its sub watch.
Yeah.
We were running coastal patrols looking for subs. Some of the other things we did in support of the Army Air Corps, target towing, courier flights, and this was all done with volunteer pilots, no pay, at risk themselves. In fact, right now, we're in Congress trying to get a Congressional Gold Medal for our World War II members to recognize them for that wartime service, because some members were actually lost in the line of duty supporting that homeland defense.
Of course.
And then further, if you take it to more present day, after 9/11, CAP was very instrumental, again, in our support to the homeland. For example, after 9/11, we were some of the only aircraft up in the airspace moving Department of Defense personnel to critical areas, conducting key infrastructure assessments. Again, you've probably seen a photo, but Civil Air Patrol was flying over the Statue of Liberty shortly after the two towers came down. So we've played a very key role from our origins in 1941 to present day.
And we're mandated by Congress with those three missions that Louis talked about earlier. And we're a 501c3 corporation, and our headquarters out at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. And again, there's 52 wings, one in each state, each wing, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. So we're all over, basically. And
okay, and now is there anything that the general public, pilots or non-pilots, can do to help the Civil Air Patrol? Is there anything that they can do?
Yeah, the general aviation community, I mean, even though the 121.5 ELT is still going away, the 406 does carry the tone. Check your 121.5 when you land. A lot of times, in fact, on my way in, we were turning off an ELT because one accidentally went off. We just had a ground team running on that, so I was monitoring that on the radio. So that's one thing pilots can do in awareness. Two is if you see something, report it to center. Report it to your local tower. We're here to help and assist as part of the community, and part of our official mandate is the Auxiliary of the United States Air Force. Because again, we're there to serve the community. And then if you have members that are interested, you can either go to our website at the flwg.us or go civilairpatrol.com. That's another way that pilots out there, and even non-pilots, we're always looking for increased members.
And they, you know, one of the things I learned that if you ever crash, God forbid, take the ELT with you if you're going to leave the aircraft. Know where the ELT is and that you're able to take it, because when you guys go out there looking, you're going to be looking for that signal. If you left the airplane, we be looking at the wrong place.
And we certainly urge everyone, if you have a 406, please register it. It doesn't do any good to know that there's something going off and we don't know who it belongs to or how to contact you.
One last comment, Diego, and one thing for the pilots, make sure that you fill out your flight plans correctly.
Correct. Louis, we got to that point where we're going to have to stop. Phil,
Thank you,
it's been a
Diego. Good seeing you
pleasure.
as always, sir.
I'm really looking forward to learning a little bit more about you
absolutely.
guys, and my congratulations to you on what the work that you do. And you, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Diego Alfonso with the Florida Aviation Network, and we will be back very soon.